Hi everyone, this is Dan with MPX. Basically going to go over two games this week to talk about usability, the usability heuristics, and the two apps that I chose was Random Runners and Dragon's World. So we'll just go over Random Runners first. Overall, pretty good game, pretty easy to navigate through. Um, it's just an all-around simple game, I guess. So the audio-visual representation supports the game. I think it sounds actiony, all throughout the screens makes a lot of sense. There's not a whole lot to talk about there. Screen layout is efficient. I believe they do use landscape, and it's pretty filled. I think they sort out the levels, sort out. They use good space for the screen. The only thing that I would say is maybe the graphics. These look like GIF images. Maybe not good color rendering. I think they may have been looking for this approach with the application, but some people want to see crisper, more clean graphics. So, it might be a customer's appearance or what appeals to them. So you just got to watch out for those. Device UI, game UI, I think that was that was fine. Indicators are visible. Clearly, there's buttons. You got your pause here, you got your shoot, you got your dive, and you got your jump. Pretty clear indicators on how to use the game. There's not a whole lot of terminology in the game. You pretty much just run, shoot, dive, and jump. So there's not too much going on there. Navigation is pretty much like any other game. You go into play. Choose your level, pick your level wherever you're at, and you play the game. You die, you click restart. You can kind of just go straight to the next game, and if you win, you win. And then if you choose to pause the game, it just goes to a pause, and you can continue or whatever. I guess the only thing I would say is maybe your continue should be to the left, or more prominent. But I didn't really talk about that because I think I think it works. I didn't have any problem navigating back and forth. So control keys are pretty consistent, pretty minimal. There's not a whole lot of controls. Like I said, main gameplay, there's only 3 buttons. So they're convenient, they're flexible, they're where they need to be in order for you to hold the phone and play the game. The game doesn't really give you feedback on anything. One little issue I had was I spent my 3 lives first figuring out what really I'm supposed to do. So as soon as you start the game, the little man starts running. You collect these coins and whatnot. You can jump and dive. It didn't come to me until I landed my first spikes, where I had fallen into and died pretty quickly. The next go round, I came up to a zombie and I died pretty quickly. So maybe just some end tips would have been nice to say, hey, you got to shoot these things early. They take a couple shots. Or, hey, you got to jump over these. Hold the jump button and you'll jump higher. Those kind of things. So while they're minor, I spent the first 3 rounds dying until I could figure out actually what I was supposed to do with the game. You can't really make any errors. You can't run backwards. So there's not a whole lot. The game's pretty simple. The guy's running, and you just have a few controls. So again, not a whole lot of room for error. You don't have to memorize anything. It's just see how far I can go, which level can I get to. The only issue, the big imperative issue that's going on in this game is there's no help section. There's no, tutorials. There's nothing on the game to show you, hey, what's your mission? Here's what you got to do. It's almost just, hey, here's some levels. You got lots of them. Go beat them. And that's about it. So there's not a whole lot with this application. Overall, the score of 7 is not terrible. It's actually pretty good. The application is pretty easy. It's pretty fun. I've only gotten past the first level. During testing, I did get to the couple other levels, but they're locked again because I ended up deleting the app and then loading it back to my phone. So anyway, overall, pretty good. The next game we went to was Dragon's World, and with the Dragon's World, we found a couple more little issues, little quirks with this one. but they were different. So coming to the application, just a quick overview. This is the splash screen where it loads. You're prompted then with this man, and he's kind of the tutorial for the application. He kind of tells you what's next or what's going on, and this is again the tutorial, and it only runs for about 8 screens. Tells you how to do a couple things, and then you're on your own. So going through the application, audio-visual representation was good. Screen layout, takes full screen, so that was good. The device UI, game UI seems to be pretty easy to use. There wasn't a whole lot of, during the tutorial, you got these arrows and things that tell you, hey, this is what you got to do. Click yes, click the X. Now you can hatch another dragon, yada yada yada. So I mean, there's a whole lot of tutorial screens where this man is telling you what's next or what you're supposed to do. It isn't until the man finally finishes and the arrows finally stop where you get to the main screen or the main game. So the player understands terminology. There's a lot of indicators on the application, so you can click on any of these and you come to a point where you're choosing an item to buy, such as this. You've got the info button. Every one of these items, and there's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's about 10 categories for, just for these areas, and then you want to know what they do, what purpose they serve. So there's a lot to remember in the game, and I think that's huge. There's just too many options, and that makes the gameplay a little bit difficult. Navigation, again, is pretty easy. You've got a whole lot of buttons on the actual game. I'm trying to find the image, sorry about that. You've got all these buttons that you can press to get into whatever. So that's pretty easy. Control keys, you can move around with your finger, zoom out. So that was pretty easy to use, and it didn't take a lot of brain power to figure that one out. The game does give you feedback every time you load something in. It tells you, hey, you just did this or that. So that was kind of nice. It kind of tells you where you are. As far as reversible errors, the only tricky thing is when you place an item, you place a dragon or something, you can't go back. There's no undo button. So while the game is maybe built that way, I think an undo option would probably be a little bit more pleasing for the customer or for the user, because sometimes you just put it in the wrong place and you just want to move it. The other thing is memorizing unnecessarily. Like I was saying before, there's a lot of information on each one of these items. There's a ton to remember in what each thing does and which one is going to do what. So you really need to pay attention, read them, and then kind of know what those things do. So I think there's just too much going on in this game. And the other thing is there's no help section. There's a settings button, but that doesn't really tell you the purpose of the application. Like, I'm in this world and I can put things down, but what am I actually doing? There's quests. It kind of tells you, hey, plant this or do that, but what am I actually trying to build here? I downloaded the game and I'm not real sure what I'm trying to accomplish in the whole game. Like, I'm building, I can breed dragons and create new ones again, but nothing is said about what these pumpkins do or what kind of purpose they serve, or the gems, or the money obviously is to buy things. This is obviously the level, some achievements, but really, what's the game for? So overall, the game was, as far as the heuristics go, didn't score very low or high, which high would be bad, low is good, so it scored pretty good, but again, there's some changes I would make just to let people know what's going on and that kind of stuff. So those are my 2 games.